Hello everyone and welcome to my bold and beautiful update channel. I hope today fantastic for everyone. Please hit the subscribes button and give this video thumbs up. After Carter decides on Hope, Daphne Rose departs Los Angeles. Spoilers for Bold and the Beautiful indicate that Daphne Rose's tragic exit from Los Angeles occurs after Carter Walton crushes her romantic hopes by choosing Hope Logan. Will Deuce persuade her to continue fighting? As the carrier selects Hope, Daphne's heartbreak makes her pack. The devastating rejection crushes the Nose's dreams. It was quite the gut hit. The COO tore out Daphne Rose's heart and trampled on it just as she believed she had finally found her happy ever after with Carter Walton. We're still getting our jaws off the ground, too. You know, the perfumer Steffi Forrester first hired to play with the minds of Carter and Hope Logan? Committed the major error. She felt something. Actual ones. The sort that drives you to do stupid things like, oh, I'm not sure, admit that you're falling for a man who has obviously hung up on someone else. The woman I want to spend the rest of my life with is Hope. Those words. Those words. Could we discuss how Carter just ruined this woman? Daphne spilled her guts, presumably believing that he meant her when he said he had found love again. A twist in the plot. He was referring to Hope. Never give up hope. Hope for all time. I mean. That look of destruction on Daphne's face? That was what we sensed in our souls. And now, after having her heart broken into a million pieces, she's doing what any respectable woman would do, she's leaving Los Angeles. Drama in the airport. Will Deuce play Cupid? This is when the exciting part begins. Deuce Stevens, yes, Tom Arnold's character, the pilot for the Forrester family, will transport our grieving heroine to LAX on Monday, May 26th. But hold on. What happens if Deuce does more than simply take her to the airport? What happens if he does make some sense to her? Remember, this is the same man that has been flying the Forresters for a very long time. He has witnessed everything. The I'm leaving forever vows that last for around 2 episodes, the drama, the breakups, and the cosmetics. Is Deuce the rational voice Daphne needs at this moment? Will he persuade her that fleeing isn't the solution? Perhaps she ought to stay and fight for the man she loves? The stakes are higher than ever. For a moment, let's be honest. It's over if Daphne boards that aircraft. Completed. Goodbye. Daphne will be just another victim in the never-ending Logan versus. Everyone else fight, while Carter and Hope will sail off into their reunited bliss, well, until the next crisis occurs, because hey, soap opera. But what if she stays? What if she marches back to Forrester Creations and flips that automobile around? We are now discussing drama. Imagine Daphne coming into the office with her eyes blazing with determination and her mascara slightly smeared. Carter believes he has made up his mind. I hope to feel safe for once. Then, all of a sudden, Daphne reveals something shocking that alters everything. The problem is that Carter and Hope have already been through this. How often have they split up? Created? Selected others? This is a pattern, not some grand love tale. If Daphne had the courage, she could definitely call out this poisonous, destructive behavior. What takes place next could revolutionize everything. According to the spoilers, Carter is organizing a grand gesture for Hope on the day Daphne is scheduled to depart. Is it a coincidence? In the realm of soap operas? No way. What if Carter's plans are totally derailed by Daphne's decision to leave or stay? What if he realizes what he's losing when he sees her go? Better yet, what if she argues and stays, making him consider his emotions more closely? You see, I've watched enough soap operas to realize that no departure is ever truly final. However, Daphne Rose added something unique to this program. She wasn't simply another blonde who was attempting to snatch a man. She had talent and ambition, but she also fell for the wrong man at the wrong moment. The true question is, will she choose to change her tale after Monday's airport scene, or will she allow sadness to push her away? Anything might happen when Deuce Stevens is driving and her whole future is on the line. And for that very reason, on Monday, we will be riveted to our screens. Ridge's fantasy, Brooke's supporter, and Daphne's farewell. Finally, here is the bold and the beautiful recap for Friday, May 23, 2025. Daphne Rose bids Carter Walton farewell in today's episode. I hope Logan backs Brooke. Logan. In addition, Ridge Forrester is unable to stop thinking about his ex-wife. I hope Logan will help. Let's start with Hope, who for the zillionth time listens to Brooke talk about her fate. Yes, Brooke, we all know you miss and adore him. The mother starts questioning her daughter after Hope abruptly remarks that life is too short. Hope discusses Liam Spencer but makes no mention of him. Hope supports Brooke's efforts to reunite with Ridge Forrester. Hope is then able to inform her mother that she and Carter have reconciled. The dreams of Ridge Forrester. Ridge and Taylor Hayes are still together at Forrester Creations. Ridge is thinking about Brooke despite being with Taylor. Taylor talks on how she realizes and accepts that Ridge is a part of the fashion industry, among other things. Even if everything seems fine, Taylor's exchanges with Brooke give the impression that things are not. Ridge continues his statement by discussing how Mom taught him that life doesn't have to be difficult or chaotic. Living a life devoid of drama is also feasible. According to Taylor, this will be their greatest phase of life. Ridge resumes fantasizing about Brooke as soon as Taylor departs. He then reflects on his relationship with Taylor. The confession of Carter Walton. Carter keeps telling Daphne that he and Hope are back together over at the loft. The nose doesn't comprehend what changed and isn't handling it well. Daphne doesn't believe Carter's assurance that Hope won't harm him again. The nose implies that Hope is once more taking advantage of Carter. Hope truly wants Liam, Daphne argues. Although the nose believes it is impossible with Hope, he still wants Carter to avoid suffering harm in the future. She truly finds it hard to comprehend how quickly things could have changed. Carter skips over all of it, but Daphne wants to know Hope's justification for what he heard. Daphne Rose's farewell. Carter regrets hurting Daphne, but Hope is unique. Carter expresses his gratitude to Daphne for their friendship. The nose essentially says, "See ya," and leaves. Hope arrives a few minutes later and gives Carter a joyful kiss. The designer is certain he won't disappoint her once more. To ruin Hope and Carter's reunion, Daphne Rose starts a corporate war. Daphne Rose begins planning to cut Hope off from Carter's life and Forrester Creations because she feels she is bad for the company. Conflict with Steffi could result from this plan. The start of Daphne's ruthless scheme to destroy Hope. A terrible new danger that has the potential to permanently split Hope Logan and Carter Walton apart appears just when they have finally found their way back to one another. Daphne Rose has stated unequivocally that she believes Hope is a poison to Forrester Creations and is prepared to fight. The drawing of the battle lines. How about timing? After all of their drama, Hope and Carter just got back together, and now Daphne is jumping in like a vulture. She no longer even tries to conceal her disdain. She said just that about Hope, bad for the company. Let's face it, Daphne isn't solely focused on profit margins and quarterly reports. It's a personal matter. Since their relationship soured, she has been circling Carter, offering to be the shoulder to weep on and a helpful friend. Now that he and Hope have returned? Go for it. Two different approaches. Daphne's plan is especially heinous because she doesn't stop at ending a relationship. Oh no. She wants Hope removed from Carter's life as well as from Forrester Creations altogether. Even for this show, that's a whole new level of brutality. Consider it. Daphne has the option of attempting to woo Carter away from Hope. It's a classic soap opera move, isn't it? But aiming at her career as well? That's a premeditated move. That's chilly. That's actually, in a strange way, kind of brilliant. A surprising wild card. Things start to get very interesting at this point. Hope and Steffi Forrester Finnegan have been at odds for years. From fashion lines to, well, Finn, we've seen them squabbling about everything. But lately? They've discovered some points of agreement. They have reconciled. When Daphne launches her anti-Hope campaign, what happens next? Will Steffi team up with someone who wants to harm her old rival? Or will she genuinely defend Hope, and this is where it becomes interesting? Is it possible? Is Steffi defending Hope Logan? The world has completely changed. The business chess match. Daphne is not suddenly convinced that Hope is ruining the business from within. Not to mention, following that startling coup, Hope and Carter now own Forrester Creations. Now that Ridge is planning to reclaim it, Daphne is putting herself in the position of a collaborator on his quest? Or is she completely playing her own game? Forrester's power dynamics are already a volatile mixture that is about to blow up. When you include Daphne's schemes, we're looking at corporate warfare that has never been witnessed before. What's actually at risk? This goes beyond a romantic triangle or a dispute in the boardroom. Hope has worked tirelessly to make a name for herself at Forrester, to emerge from her mother's shadow, and to leave her own mark. Not only is Hope for the future a clothing brand, but it's also her identity and her contribution to the business that her family founded. Hope will suffer more than just losing a job or a partner if Daphne's scheme is successful. Everything she has worked for is lost. What about Carter? He is enmeshed in a conflict that he is unaware is imminent. Before it's too late, will he discover Daphne's plots? Or will her venom seep into his ear and cause him to question the woman he recently got back together with? The Steffi aspect. Let's discuss the elephant in the room, or perhaps I should refer to it as the boardroom Forrester. Everything could alter depending on Steffi's response to Daphne's scheme. Imagine this: Daphne disturbs the delicate tranquility at Forrester by pursuing Hope too intensely. Steffi regards Daphne as a danger to the stability of the organization, which is something that is very important to him. The lady who formerly desired Hope's disappearance now finds herself in a position of defending her. It's deliciously ironic. Or perhaps Steffi spots a chance. Allow Daphne to remove Hope, then take care of Daphne afterwards. This type of strategic thinking is what we've come to anticipate from a Forrester analyst. The problem is that Steffi has matured. She has changed. There was more to the recent piece with Hope than meets the eye. Which way will she tilt, then, when the chips are down? The countdown starts. In what looks to be a full-scale conflict, Daphne has fired the opening shot. She appears to have the strategy, the position, and the drive to destroy Hope. However, even the best-laid plans can end in disaster in the world of Bold and Beautiful. Will unlikely allies band together against Daphne as a result of her plotting? Is Carter going to find out who she really is before she ruins his relationship with Hope? Most intriguingly, can this corporate battle royal lead to an unexpected partnership between Hope and Steffi? There is little doubt that Hope Logan has fared worse than Daphne Rose in terms of survival. Given that Logans don't go down easily, she has Logan blood in her veins. Daphne may believe she has the advantage, but she's going to discover why a Logan woman on a mission should never be underestimated. The business chessboard is ready. The parts are moving. And Daphne Rose is going to learn that you had better not miss it when you come for Hope Logan. The feud between Brooke and Taylor, Katie's wisdom. Fans might anticipate that Ridge Forrester will receive love counsel from Katie Logan. Additionally, Taylor Hayes and Brooke Logan argue once more. Let's discuss what will happen in the upcoming episode of the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. Brooke Logan's demand. Fans should anticipate Brooke's insistence that Ridge is her destiny. Expect things to alter after Brooke confronts Taylor, even though she did question it for a little while. Brooke frequently debates a topic but, when challenged, vehemently defends it. Naturally, Taylor will mention that Ridge, not Brooke, is now with her. Additionally, fans may anticipate Taylor and Brooke using the term "respect my relationship." The feud between Taylor Hayes. You might anticipate that the fashion show pranks will be mentioned when Taylor meets Brooke once more. Taylor would argue that Brooke committed a desperate deed in front of a man who was already in a relationship with someone else. Brooke, on the other hand, will stand up for herself and declare that Ridge is her fate. Concerning Hope Logan. According to tomorrow's teasers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Brooke and Taylor will also argue over Hope Logan. Fans are aware that Steffi Forrester Finnegan complied with Liam Spencer's request due of his brain tumor. In addition to making amends with Hope, Steffi extended an invitation for her to rejoin Forrester Creations. Taylor is going to question how long it will be before Hope targets another taken man or initiates another takeover. But now that her daughter is accepting responsibility, Brooke will keep advocating for her. The romantic advice of Katie Logan. She gives Ridge some love advice while she's with Katie. The fact that it is described as solid advice suggests that Ridge may reconsider. Does this imply that Ridge and Brooke will soon be reunited? Should Ridge abruptly jump ship once more, how will Steffi and Taylor react? Additionally, there need to be a Daphne Rose update. Steffi is aware of the Nose's strong affection for Carter Walton. However, Daphne is curious as to what transpired that caused Carter to abruptly change his mind. How long before everyone finds out that Liam has been given a death sentence? Could there be significant drama with Daphne as a result of Steffi's decision to bring Hope back to FC? After losing Ridge to Brooke, does Taylor pretend to have broken heart syndrome in order to get him back? In a city where love burns like wildfire and heartbreak lingers like smoke in the air, no triangle has seared deeper into the emotional fabric of the Forrester world than that of Taylor Hayes, Ridge Forrester, and Brooke Logan, a tempestuous entanglement of passion, betrayal, history, and impossible longing. And just when it seemed like the storm had finally calmed, when Ridge had seemingly chosen Brooke once and for all with a weary, resolute heart that whispered of closure and second chances. The script took yet another jaw-dropping twist, one fueled not by overt villainy but by desperation, vulnerability, and the kind of subtle psychological warfare only a woman like Taylor, forged in heartbreak and steeped in complexity, could enact. For after Ridge's quiet but final reconciliation with Brooke, marked by a dinner under string lights, soft apologies, and the kind of bittersweet, teary kiss that signaled not passion reignited but love grown up, Taylor retreated into herself, stunned. Not by the loss itself, which she had long feared, but by the definitive nature of it, the way Ridge didn't look back, didn't hesitate, didn't offer her one last piece of him to hold on to, and in that cavernous silence where love used to live, something inside Taylor cracked, and in the weeks that followed, as the Forrester estate buzzed with whispers of a Brooke and Ridge reboot and the press predictably ran headlines that reduced decades of history to true love wins, Taylor began to unravel, not in the hysterical, mascara-streaked, scream-in-the-rain sense that soap operas so often portray, but in the quieter, more chilling way only a seasoned professional can, a woman who understands human psychology deeply enough to manipulate it from within, and it began, as all brilliant schemes do, with a seed of truth. Taylor had indeed felt pain, had felt it acutely in her chest, the kind of grief that clenches the heart like a vice and makes even breath feel optional, and when she casually mentioned to a colleague that she felt physically broken, she was met not with sympathy but with a clinical suggestion: stress cardiomyopathy, also known as broken heart syndrome, a very real, very rare cardiac condition that mimics a heart attack in the wake of extreme emotional stress. And in that moment, between medical literature and emotional fatigue, an idea bloomed, equal parts desperate and calculated. What if she could use her pain, real and raw, as a tool, a narrative, a wedge to draw Ridge back into her orbit, not through seduction or rage, but through the one emotion he could never ignore: guilt. At first, it was subtle. Taylor started complaining of chest pains around Steffi and Thomas, knowing word would eventually reach Ridge. She made offhand remarks about dizziness during meetings, and once, strategically, collapsed, gracefully, not dramatically, during a foundation event, ensuring a public scene without outright fabrication. And as doctors examined her and tests came back inconclusive but concerning, Taylor leaned into the ambiguity, never saying "I'm dying" but never denying it either, letting others draw their own conclusions as she lingered in hospital gowns and whispered that she just needed a little more time to heal. And when Ridge finally appeared at her bedside, eyes wide, voice low, that familiar crease of worry in his brow, Taylor felt a flicker of something terrifyingly close to triumph. Because even if she had to feign fragility to get there, he was back, and not out of obligation or nostalgia, but out of care, that deep-rooted, unconditional empathy he reserved only for a select few. And Taylor, lying beneath white sheets with monitors beeping softly, knew that as long as she played this carefully, she could win him back, not through passion, but through positioning herself as the one who needed him most. Ridge, meanwhile, was torn, not because he doubted his love for Brooke, which felt more grounded and adult now than it had in years, but because he couldn't ignore the pit in his stomach every time he looked at Taylor, pale and quiet, a shell of her usual composed self, and the idea that his choice had broken her, literally, haunted him, especially at night when Brooke, sensing his unease, tried to reassure him that Taylor would be fine, that she was stronger than anyone gave her credit for, and though Brooke's confidence in Taylor's resilience was sincere, Ridge's guilt metastasized, whispering that maybe love wasn't just about passion but also about protection, responsibility, history, and Taylor, masterfully restrained in her approach, never asked him to stay, never begged or confessed undying love, but instead created a space of gentle sadness, of quiet need, of lingering what-ifs, and Ridge, caught between the woman he loved and the woman he felt responsible for, began to emotionally splinter, and Taylor watched it all with a complex mix of regret and control, because while part of her hated herself for the manipulation, another part, the part that had been passed over, rejected, cast aside too many times, felt justified, even righteous, in bending truth to reclaim what she had lost. However, deception, even emotionally motivated deception, always comes undone, and the thread started to loosen when Steffi, who was always perceptive and fiercely loyal, noticed that Taylor's episodes always seemed to happen when Ridge was around, and that her medical records, when examined in private by a worried doctor friend of Steffi's, lacked the telltale signs of true cardiomyopathy. Although Steffi wanted to think her mother wouldn't resort to such tactics, she also knew that desperation causes even good people to act unethically, so as her suspicions grew, she confronted Taylor in a rare moment of candidness, not with anger but with heartbreak, asking not how could you. However, why did you feel compelled to? And Taylor, cornered not by enemies but by her own daughter's compassion, finally broke, collapsing not from a feigned illness but from the weight of truth, confessing through tears that she didn't know how to let go, that she had given so much of herself for so many years, and that when Ridge chose Brooke again, it felt like the last nail in a coffin she had been climbing out of for decades. Faking an illness wasn't about retaliation, rather, it was about creating a space where Ridge might choose her out of care, because the idea that he would never again, not in crisis, not in calm, was intolerable. As Steffi held her mother's shaking hands, she understood not the ethics but the pain, the need to be chosen, to be seen, and she promised not to expose her, but to come clean before the lie cost her everything. And in a final, poignant twist, Taylor did, she told Ridge, quietly, ashamed, but without excuses, and Ridge, stunned, didn't explode or walk away in rage, but simply stared, seeing for the first time the full extent of Taylor's unraveling, and though he couldn't condone her actions, he also couldn't stop caring, and what followed wasn't a rekindled romance but a reckoning, a moment of real emotional intimacy where Taylor was no longer the scorned woman or the rival but just, human, and Ridge, finally grown enough to set boundaries without cruelty, told her gently that while he would always care, always respect, always show up when needed, his heart was not a prize to be won through illness or guilt, and that the love he had for Brooke, flawed and complex as it was real, and Taylor, in that moment, finally saw the futility of her grasp, and with the grace that had always defined her, let go, not just of Ridge, but of the story she had been telling herself about who she needed to be loved, and in that letting go, she began to heal, not her heart, which was never truly broken, but the part of her that believed she was only worthy when needed, and as the season faded to black, it wasn't drama or scandal that lingered, but a quiet kind of power, the painful, liberating, necessary act of choosing truth over fantasy, dignity over deception, and self over the past.